Listen, the leaders of the Sahel states must be studied. They have what many of us are still dreaming of even till today. Their type of man is in fact so needed in Cameroon right now. The country of Cameroon is in desperate need of real men, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what Assimi Goïta just did in Mali. You see, America slammed 10% base tariff on African countries. And some African president met up with Trump to beg for discount. That's what I see it, or how it appeared to me. Now, while these presidents were still in negotiations with Trump and his administration for discounts, or whatever you choose to call it, the military leader, the president of Mali, had a different plan in mind. I think African presidents with military backgrounds may become the new standard moving forward. This is what he did. Assimi Goïta countered the U.S. tariffs with his own visa requirement. He issued a command for $10,000 bond for every American visitor to Mali, which I brought to your attention some weeks ago. If you remember, 10% tariff from America for $10,000 bond from Mali, which meant any American passport holder who traveled to Mali was to make a $10,000 deposit with the Malian embassy before they can enter Mali. And I remember I gave you the statistics of how many American nationals traveled to Mali as opposed to the number of Malians who traveled to the United States. And for those who are yet to see that video, well, this is the start. 9,000 American nationals visit Mali on the average in a year, whereas a little over 3,000 Malians visit America in a year on the average, which suggests, ladies and gentlemen, that there are nearly 3 times more Americans who travel to Mali in a year. So typically of the Trump government, they didn't take the decision of Mali lightly. They countered it with their own visa bond of $15,000 for every Mali passport holder traveling to the USA. They made it similar to what the Malian government did. It is to be paid at the US consulate. It is refundable and is to ensure that Malian travelers return home on time after visiting the US. Now, this is fun, but guess what? Malians aren't traveling to the US as much as Americans are traveling to Mali. And so, things weren't as expected for the US government. Therefore, on the 25th of October this year, the American government removed Mali's name from the consulate for the $15,000 bond, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me right. America flinched. They couldn't hold up their end of the rivalry, seeing how much money American citizens were paying or are paying to the Malian government. And they are not only paying, but it has also become a burden for Americans doing business in Mali, because they literally have to carry the cash for every individual traveling to Mali. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, the American government has taken Mali's name off the list of countries to pay bonds to travel to the US. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the caveat. Mali is still charging the $10,000 bond, irrespective of the changes the US government has made. Mali is still charging. The Malian government, led by Assimi Goïta, is still charging the mandatory $10,000 bond on all American travelers, whether you hold a resident permit, a work permit, or a visitor's visa. You have to pay, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you, but little news like these gets me excited, because all we see from leadership across Africa are men who beg or look for the easiest ways out in every circumstance. Meanwhile, we have so much to offer, and we have so much they need from us than what we actually need from them. Do you know what it will mean when other African heads of states had spines like these 3 Sahel leaders, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, just imagine this. Mali, with only 25 million population, has a leader who can stand tall, this tall, to the US government and actually see the US government cave. Ladies and gentlemen, what then happens when a bigger African country like Nigeria, with over 230 million population, stood on business, ladies and gentlemen? What will happen if South Africa stood up to them instead of begging? Ladies and gentlemen, look around Africa for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Just look around and see for yourself how desperate our leaders are to be in the good books of some of these Western countries. See for yourself how irrelevant leaders of Africa appear before Westerners and Asian leaders when they meet in events. It kills my heart to see how weak we are as a continent. We don't control nothing of any significance on the global financial scale. Nothing. Let me break your heart with this stats, and I hope to some people it becomes the needed fuel to propel you to step out and do something great for this continent. Let me blow your mind with this. The entire world's economy is valued at $105 trillion. Out of that figure, only 3% is controlled by Africa. North America controls 27% of the world's GDP. Europe controls 25%. Asia Pacific controls 38%. Latin America, as small as they are, even controls 7% of the world's economy. And Africa, with 1.5 billion population and the youngest population of all, controls only 3%. How will anyone take us seriously, ladies and gentlemen? This is why we are a laughing stock everywhere we go. We don't tip the scale on anything. Instead, every time our name is mentioned, we are either looking for a loan or a favor. Who will respect us under such conditions, ladies and gentlemen? This thing is frustrating, and it explains why soldiers in Africa are toppling governments. As old as Paul Biya is, he still wants to lead, and the entire system in Cameroon is ensuring that he does. He is 92 going to 93. The president of the Constitutional Council of Cameroon, Clement Atangana, is 84. Cameroonian's chief of staff of the armed forces, Claude Mecca, is 86. The president of Cameroonian Senate, Marcel Niat, is 91. And the speaker of Cameroonian National Assembly, Kavaye Jibril, is 85. A league of very old men leading one of the youngest African countries for 43 years. They still want more. What is the meaning of this? Are they there to serve the nation or there to be served by the nation? Ladies and gentlemen, let's not kid ourselves. If we are going to be relevant in this era, it will have to begin with visionary patriots as leaders whose ideas breaks glass ceilings. Ladies and gentlemen, we need vibrant leaders whose ideas in agribusiness, mining, and IT is on another level. Not these old men who are gasping for air. They dread not being in control. But that day is coming, ladies and gentlemen. Just look across our continent and see how poor people are. And tell me this. Which amongst these leaders is daring enough to rise above this stigma and do something worth talking about? What have they been doing with our fertile lands and our mineral deposit all this while? What are they doing with our wildlife, the sunlight and the sea, the oil, our history, and most importantly, the people? What are they doing with the massive human resource? What advantages are we benefiting with this large population of people under 20, ladies and gentlemen? When other countries are providing incentives to families to have more offsprings, we have them in abundance and we don't have a clue of what to do. Our rivers are still flowing freely into the seas. Malaria is still killing us in 2025. You say you are a leader. Pressure left, right, center to the ordinary person. The story of Africa will not go down like this forever. One by one, the youth across board in Africa will arise and the story will change. Assimi Goita and the rest of the Sahel leaders have balls the size of 50 African presidents combined. Ladies and gentlemen, these guys are all in. They are all in for what they believe in and must be protected at all costs. This continent will change. This continent will develop. We shall be a people of respect and dignity. We will stay right here and make this place the heaven we want. Cameroon, you have to make it happen. We are all supporting you. And salute to all who believe in this continent. I'm Cyrus, and this is Tuntum Network in Accra, Ghana. Help us grow, ladies and gentlemen. Help us reach more people in any capacity that you can. Please. And thank you for watching. I'll come your way again with another one very soon. Until then, it is bye-bye for now.